Okay. And was a real estate investor. And let's bring him on. Dave Seymour, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, man. I'm doing awesome. Hey, thanks for being on the show today.
Pleasure, man. Pleasure. It's like they're digging up all the oldies but goodies. You know, you got me, Dog the Bounty Hunter. I mean, it's like an archaeology dig these days. You know what I'm saying? But thanks for having me, Jared.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
Hey, yeah. So, how's Boston? How's the weather in Boston right now?
Actually, we did all right today. It was a little chilly yesterday, but as soon as it gets up in the 80s, every Bostonian rips their shirt off and heads for the beach. So we're about 82 right now, and we're still in lockdown. I mean, it's still a little crazy around here, but wet sunshine and business is good. So I'm not complaining, brother. That's for sure.
Yeah. When's your lockdown? When you guys scheduled to kind of start opening back up and stuff?
Oh man, there's
changes every day here
about monkeys and a football, and I think we got that going on around here right now. We got like 4 phases. Today was actually phase 2, section 1 of the opening, which means retail stores can open. They can open. Restaurants can open, but you can only sit outside. You can get a haircut. This is my COVID haircut that my 5-year-old did for me.
That looks good.
Yeah, liar, pants on fire.
I just went yesterday and got my hair cut. My wife's been cutting mine, and I look like an Amish kid.
Yeah.
I had like the bowl. She's like, YouTube was like awesome showing her how to cut hair. Yeah.
I tell you, man, I tried to find a pair of wall clippers about a month ago. They were out of stock. It was like an 8-week delivery from Amazon. You'd figure Bezos would have honed in on that. You know what I mean? But yeah, barber shops are open. You can go and get a massage again if you need one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's chaos, man. It's chaos. Whoever would have thought it? You know what I mean? Just nuts.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, well, hey, you've been on TV, you've got a show out there, like how in the world did you even get started in the real estate business? Like, how did that happen? Like, 16 years as a firefighter.
Yeah. Look, man, we talked very briefly before we started this thing. I'll make it concise so we can really get into the real estate components of it. But, I'm an immigrant from another country. I emigrated from England back in '86, and I was 19 years old, and I had a very traditional upbringing. We'll leave it at that, right? My old man was a heat and air conditioning guy. I'm from London. My mom was a secretary. I was told to work hard. Don't cheat, don't lie, don't steal, do the right thing. Don't ever ask questions you're not supposed to. And follow the financial plan, right, that was laid out in generations of Englishmen before me. Kind of like, I'm a working class kid, really, blue collar through and through. Today, I've got a kind of like a blue collar attitude in a white collar world. But anyway, I came to the States, and I was fortunate to. A friend of mine said to me, police, fire, mailman, teacher, one of those good government jobs. He said, you can never lose one of those, brother. He said, and everybody gets a pension and you'll be all set for the rest of your life. That's what you want to do. And, I got a little bit of a white knight inside of me. So, I thought about the police department and I tested, and I thought about the fire department and I tested. And it was funny. I got a card in the mail from Lynn Fire Department, which is just north of Boston here. And then the day I got the card in the mail from Lynn Fire Department, I also got a card in the mail from Miami PD, right?
Oh,
yeah. And it was like, okay, move to Miami, and go, go be a cop down there, a little Don Johnson. How you doing, right?
You're out on the beach.
Fight fires up here, and I took to it like a duck to water, firefighting and paramedicine. I did some special police work on the side, but that's another story. I worked in the jails. But here's the bottom line. How did I get started in real estate? I didn't have a choice. I knew how to work really, really hard, but I was a financial illiterate, and I mean that sincerely. I was a financial donkey. I knew how to spend money. I didn't know how to manage money. I knew how to work an extra hour for overtime, right? praying the phone would ring for an overtime. And the truth of the matter, Gary, is, you know, I was about 120 hours working every single week between 2 full-time jobs and a part-time job. And then I was still financially screwed. I had over about $80,000 in unsecured debt and credit cards. I had a wife, I had a son, I had a mortgage, and I had a whole pile of doo-doo caca, and it just wasn't smelling good. And I ended up. It's funny, you know. I'm not a religious guy, but I'm a man of faith, and I was losing my house. It was in pre-foreclosure, and I remember banging on the steering wheel of my truck, and I'm screaming at my guy upstairs, and I'm like, you know, I've done the right thing. I didn't lie, I didn't cheat, I didn't steal, I did everything Dad said. What the hell's going on, you know? And there was a commercial on the radio, and it was in late 2007, and the commercial was "Teach Me Foreclosure, a free 1.5 hour seminar coming to your neck of the woods." That's how I started, man. I had some construction experience through the fire department, but I ended up in seminars. I did the 1.5 hour thing and went to a 3-day class, and, you know, put the last of the credit available on my wife's credit cards for a 3-day training, and bought myself accountability that day is what I did.
Yeah, I gotta admit, just what you just said there was almost like an identical scenario with me. I spent 17 years in the insurance world, and it was like overnight, and we got to the point where we didn't know if I was ever getting paid again. And I listened to this radio ad and went to a seminar for some free seminars. Yeah, and then they sold me into it, and then I started getting there, and I had to max out, my wife's credit card for the one seminar just for a weekend boot camp. And that there's so much financial that I didn't even know about before. It's amazing. So
what it is? It's I've figured this much out in my few years on this planet. Talk is cheap, right? Yep. Talk is cheap.
It is.
I want to be financially independent, and yet nobody does anything different to try and achieve it, right? It doesn't matter whether somebody's starting at ground zero like I was, or whether somebody has, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $500,000, $2-3 million in the bank. They'll talk about having a lot of capital and wanting a really good retirement, and yet they don't do what it takes to establish a good retirement. They talk about having no capital, and I want to be a real estate investor, and yet they won't spend the time nor the energy to learn the business and learn the fundamentals. But they're more than happy to go watch another episode of BS on Netflix or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? So it takes some effort, man. I mean, I've been blessed to be on a lot of good stages, and I did an event with Tony Robbins of all people once, right? And we were up in Canada, and one of the sayings that meant a lot to me is that massive passion coupled with massive action is what gets you massive results. A lot of people are looking for a dramatic change. Some people ain't. Some people just want to do small increments. But I was beaten into submission rather than skipping down the happy road of real estate. So yeah. Everybody each their own way, right? Or not, either way. So
yeah. Now when I first started out, it sounded like we had a pretty similar background. I didn't have my own money to get started in real estate. I couldn't go to banks at that time because I've been self-employed. I lost a bunch of my agents, due to some changes in the healthcare reform. And, I had to go out and search for private money. How did you get started with that? Did you have money? Were you able to go to a bank?
Yeah,
I had to go out and find, I couldn't go to my family members and say, hey, give me money, because they didn't have it.
Right.
So,
right. I remember when I started, my FICO score was 2. And maybe 3 on a really good day. I wasn't a lendable commodity from financial institutions, right? So for me, when I started at the very beginning, one of the guys who was kind of influential to me said, "Money is everywhere. Money isn't valuable. Money is actually a devaluing commodity in today's society, right? The longer it sits still, it just devalues. And yet everybody thinks if I got more money, I'm going to be all set. You need money to make money. All of those ingrained philosophies, if you will. To be in a position of broke is actually powerful. Damon John wrote a book, I think it was called The Power of Being Broke. And I understood those concepts. It creates an element of like action in somebody, right? To literally be with no money. So what I found out is my energy, my influence on other people through education became the currency that I could bring to the market. So I've coached and trained thousands of people across the country, and they always say, what should I do first? And I always say, figure out what your unique talent is, and then figure out how to bring it to the marketplace. So for me, I had a couple of things going for me. Obviously, my dynamic good looks was one, but I had some construction experience. I wasn't a very good carpenter. If you wanted me to do finished carpentry, you needed to give me a caulking gun and some caulking, because I was going to need to fill the cracks out.
Caulk fixes everything, doesn't it?
Right. But I knew some stuff, right? And then secondly, for me, I had an advantage, which was the fire department, right? So I would use that everywhere I could. Hey, Dave, I'm a firefighter. If I can help, and I'd be talking to other investors, right? Other, maybe potential lenders. People believed in, they believed in the consistencies of the message that I delivered. Firefighter, construction, I can help you, you help me, and just begin to attract people towards me who could help me along the way. And I never gave up on that journey. As silly as it sounds, a guy says to me one time, the truth always comes out at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's the thing that wakes you up in the middle of the night, right? And he said, and if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, look in the mirror and start to practice, right? And practice who it is that you're turning into. And I did that. And the very first private lender I got was actually a lieutenant. He's now a chief in the fire department. And I borrowed $35,000, giving him a guaranteed $5,000 return. And the 35 grand was just for some construction money on a project. And I knew that the project was going to get to fruition and be sold. So I think I said to him, I'll pay you back in 8 weeks. And I paid him back in 6. And he made 5 grand in 6 weeks on 35 grand. And then he said the magic words, Gary, that we all want to hear. Listen, if you ever need money, you call me first. Right? And if I don't have it, right? And if I don't have it, I know other guys who do. And it kind of started there, but I had to know what the heck I was talking about. The Wally who stands there and goes, I think I got a good deal. And I think if you lend me 20 grand, I think I could maybe give you 22. Don't think anything. Know your numbers, be proficient, and then you'll begin to attract people with capital. And today I'm a lender, so I've gone full circle, if you will.
That's awesome. Yeah. So very cool. So there's always that motivation, right? To get started, to keep going, and you kind of hit a little bit on it there yourself. But what motivates you every single day, and what's that drive to keep you going? It's amazing. Like I can tell you mine, but every day I get up and people ask me like, why do you get up so early, or why do you work so late, or why are you honestly doing this? Like I can work constantly, and people, so that's like my drive, because I want to continue to keep getting better and better. So what's that for you?
That wasn't on your list of questions. I'm joking. Look, dude, here's the 411, right? It gets down to somebody's DNA at the end of the day. I'm a believer in the law of attraction. I believe that like attracts like. I believe that every deposit I make today is for a withdrawal tomorrow, right? How do you get a better life? Well, do something different today, you donkey, and you'll get a different result tomorrow, right? So for me, what drives me is I'm competitive. I have a touch of FOMO in me, fear of missing out. So that keeps me sharp. That keeps me current. I've always been somebody who's in perpetual, right? I'm in motion. I'm either all on or I'm not. And when I'm not
Yeah.
on, I want to be relaxing and chilling with my wife and my boys and doing my own thing. Today, one of the biggest drives for me is to be able to bring value to people around me. And what I
Okay.
mean by that is in my business today, we bring rates of returns to investors, right? I
Yeah.
get a lot of pride when I get an email that says, "Man, I'm so glad that I invested with you guys XYZ. I didn't get my what's handed to me in the stock market. I'm so grateful that I've got a protected, secured, and insured investments." I take pride in that because I've learned that the more that I put out is what I get in return, right? It's a case of giving. A lot of people live this philosophy of, what's in it for me. I like the idea of what's in it for you, because I found out this, and I found out, through being hurt, and I found out through being rewarded, is that if I put other people ahead of me, if I think about servicing somebody else before myself, it comes back to me 2, 3, 4, 5-fold. There's a lot of sharks out there, brother. There's a lot of sharks. There's a lot of bullshit out there. People, again, talk is cheap, right? So I've got a dual-edged sword, if you will, going, in the sense that when I get up, I want to be proficient, and it's one of my faults, not my strengths, is to be organized, right? I like, what is it? Not ready, aim, fire. I'm ready, fire, aim. You know what I mean? Like, in the past, my business philosophy was make a mess and learn how to monetize it along the way. And
sometimes that's the best,
right? Isn't it? I like the challenge.
Just taking action, getting it going.
Yeah, getting going, getting in action. Yeah. I've had businesses that haven't performed to the standard that I wanted them, but I've had some businesses that have just rocket it to the fifth dimension. And at the end of the day, man, here's one thing I have learned is if you're doing what you want to do, and if you really enjoy what it is, if you're passionate about it, and I hate to be freaking corny, but it doesn't feel like work. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like work, dude. Whether it's a little single family property that we've lipstick on a pig, or a full gut rehab. It doesn't matter, man. You step back from that and you go, yeah, look at that little thing right there. That's a nice little house. And then somebody, it's gratification. It's a sense of accomplishment. I like to be around people who value what we bring. And then at the same time, I like to be around people who are excited to be moving forward, right? Rather than the complacencies. You know what I mean? I want
exactly.
Here's something that's critical for me. I don't want to be the smartest person in any room, dude.
Yep.
I don't, Gary. I want to be stimulated. I'm in my early 50s, but I got an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 24-year-old. You know what I mean? I got some stuff to do here. You know what I'm saying? So,
that's right.
Competition gets me going. Performance gets me going. I like the challenge. I love the challenge. I love the challenge of somebody who says you can't. Because as soon as somebody tells me I can't, in my head, I know I can. Now that's
like my biggest motivator, because I get people that will say, "Oh, you can't do that," or "You can't," BS. Like, I had realtors when I first got in the business say, "Oh, you can't do that," and I turn around and I'm like, "I'm doing it, like, just to prove you wrong," in a sense.
Yeah.
And I heard it so many times in my life. You can't do that.
You know what, people? Here's what I've figured out, dude. And again, I could be wrong. I'm always ready to be educated, right? But one of the things I've figured out is a lot of people who say or use the word can't, it's a fear-based word, right? Yeah. Because people project themselves into different circumstances, different scenarios, different contracts, different whatever. And because something is unknown to them, the answer is I can't. I like attorneys, God bless them, right? You can't do that. It's illegal. Really? No, it's not illegal. You just don't know how to do it. Therefore, your default is can't. I'm going through some challenges on a contract, and you're in the business long enough, you're going to have challenges. I got 4 attorneys on it. 3 of them say I can, and 1 of them says I can't. So who's right? Who's right? Me. Yep. If I say I can't, I'm right. If I say I can, I'm right. Either way, I'm right. Right? It's choice.
So, absolutely.
Those moments of challenge, man. I thrive off of that. I get a real kick out of that. Go on. I dare you to tell me I can't do something.
I love it when someone says that. I just I'm going. So
yeah.
So hey, Dave, I interviewed my group of people, my audience, right?
Yeah.
And one of the biggest questions that came up was, how do I get my own TV show? Right. So how did you start off get into Flipping Boston? How'd that all come about?
Yeah. First of all, you don't want a TV show. Everybody thinks they want one, right? Everybody wants their 30 seconds of fame. But I was very blessed. I told you I was part of the education space. I came through as a student, and as much as anybody else, and I'm sure everybody watching this knows, as soon as you put your name and information in somewhere, all of a sudden, Google does its magic with search engine optimization, and all of a sudden on the side of your screen are all these different places you can go. Well, I was sucked into that as well, but I was able to be a part of the education space, and being in that education space, you also end up rubbing elbows with some of the top marketers in the world, right? Mm-hmm. Online marketers, Gary V. There's so many of them, right? And there was one guy. What the heck was his name? I can see his face. I can't remember his name. But anyway, he sent me a link. I had done some MCing and a little bit of speaking, a little bit of platform sales. And this guy sent me a link, and basically the link was to reach out to a production company in New York who wanted to, do a show. They were looking for some talent, and this was in 2000 and late 9, 10, somewhere around there, I think. And it was when nobody wanted to know anything. If you'd have looked at all the HGTV silliness in 2007 and 8, there was nothing there, right?
Yeah.
And I downloaded a vanilla online application. And I knew at that moment in time, because I've been around a lot of marketers, that if you can't separate yourself from everybody else, if you can't rise above the noise, you don't stand a chance. So you got a vanilla application, name a company, how many people in your company, how many houses, right? Right? How do you make that elevate? Well, I find that profanity will grab people's attention. So what I did was I loaded my application with profanity. Name of your company, Go F Yourself LLC, right? And then I just kept on going, and I loaded it with the end caption, tell us about your company. And I was still a firefighter at the time, and basically I think it said something along the lines of, don't waste my effing time. Don't call me. Get on a plane, you donkey. Come to Boston. Come see how Dave does it. He's the real estate. When everybody else goes rushing out, I go rushing in, just like I do in the effing fire department. Just bring the cameras, bring a large budget, bring me something to eat. Let's go to work. It was something like that. And what have I got to lose, man? And I pressed the send button, and I swear to God, it was maybe 20 minutes. I see on my caller ID 212 area code, New York, calling me.
Yeah.
So I pick up the phone. I go, I thought I told you not to call me. And I hung up the phone. And I'm like, please call me. Yeah, straight up. And they called back, and the kid was laughing his ass off. And he's like, you're either a lunatic or you're a genius. I go, I'm a little bit of both, young man. When are you coming to film the show? And that's kind of how it started. We were supposed to do a couple of.
Now, most people would be scared of that.
What do you got to lose, right? Yeah. What do you got to lose? They say, "Who's this idiot swearing?" Or they say, "Who's this guy swearing?" What do you got to lose, right?
Yeah.
Marketing is being different, man. It's separating yourself. It's humor. It's truth. It's authenticity. It's all of those things, right? And I really do use way too much profanity. I mean, it's part of my working class firefighter DNA. I've done very well this morning. I'm quite proud of myself. But it's they came out. They did like a little blurby piece. They did a little bit of a thing, and I didn't really have a strong partnership with the Greek back then, my ex-partner Pete. But we shot some stuff, and A&E Network saw it, sent a note back to the production company, and they said that big Englishman looks like he could get kind of pissed. We wouldn't mind seeing more of that. And then and then it was like big bad day, and then the Greek designer, and you start making a silly show. It's not fun having a camera up your ass 24/7. It slows down business. I wasn't making any Kardashian money. You know what I mean? No kadunk money over here. Nobody wants to see my rear end. So we weren't making crazy money. But the upside of it was obviously the fact that today, and I don't say this for ego, I say it for fact. Today, because of that show, I can reach out and open doors anywhere in this country that a lot of people would have challenges doing.
Absolutely.
I can set meetings with powerful people who can influence, and in return I bring them value. So God is good. That was a blessing. It wasn't a curse, but that's how we ended up getting the show. Yeah.
Yeah. I do kind of envy you though, Dave, because I actually had due to my social media marketing, I actually had a film crew out of Hollywood.
Okay.
Said, hey, they actually came to Columbus, Ohio. We filmed an episode. They filmed what they called it, a sizzle reel, right?
Yeah,
like the little
reel, yeah.
And then they went, but I got to tell you, like it would have took like 2 days to do the work that we need to do on this property. It took like 2 weeks just to do this little sizzle reel. Yeah. And I was like, wow, this is like, stop, let's redo it. Stop, let's redo it. And it was amazing, like how much longer it actually took just to put flooring down. Yeah.
If you look at HGTV, they've got a formula. Okay, they really do. If you're a real house renovator, we all know with maturity that you cannot do that amount of work in a half an hour. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And even the numbers and the profits that they put on there, the majority of them are garbage. So it's infotainment is what it is. Yep. And if you want to be an infotainer, that's one thing. But if you want to be a real estate investor, well, that's something different.
It's a whole different.
It's a different ball game. And with my ex-partner Pete, he was a stickler on the numbers and the financials. So what you saw with us was reality. But that was also a setback because, they wanted 100 episodes over a 4-year period. Well, it's a little bit different when you really rehab houses instead of hanging something dirty on a wall and calling it a stink house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's just insulting the intelligence. But I'm sorry you didn't make the big time, baby.
Hey, that's all right. I mean, hey. But I won't turn any offers down at the moment. So
okay, good luck.
I guess I need to start cussing more at these people. I don't know.
Yeah, you just got to find the inner self. My little 8-year-old calls it his inner Ben. He lets his inner Ben out. Yeah, let the inside out, man. Be vulnerable. Who knows?
That's awesome. My son. So we made it. Was like it was like the name was 2.5 Rehabbers.
Okay.
And it was like a spin-off in a sense. And so it really featured my little son. Okay. And he was like, we showed the video to everybody. And of course, it was on YouTube. And all of his buddies at school thought he was like the bigwig, like it was pretty awesome just seeing him on that. So well worth it,
Yeah, they've got a formula, Gary. They really do, man. I mean, you need a pretty lady. You need a somewhat half-decent looking dude today. If they're a couple, it's even better, right? Yeah. Let's have a little marital spat. I mean, it's the vice president or executive, whatever her position was. We were at a lunch in New York, and this was when Duck Dynasty was playing. Remember Duck Dynasty, the guy with the beards? Very bizarre show, but it was a hit, right? And we're talking, and she said to me, what America wants is what's called popcorn television. And I said, what is that? She said, America doesn't want to be challenged. America doesn't want to think. America wants to be able to start a show, go get a bag of popcorn, come back, and not miss anything of any value.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad.
Yeah, that is.
It's kind of sad. Is that it? Is it moronic? Is that the deliverables today? or does society need to be or want to be challenged? Or, there's a saying in England, it's called being mocus. Mocus means you're just like every day.
Yeah.
I choose not to be mocus. The show was
Yep.
fun. I bought it my flavor. Pete bought it his flavor. We did okay. It wasn't like, oh my God, do you remember those episodes? Nobody says that. You know what I mean? And that's fine. Ego stands for ease God out. I'm not in it for an ego trip, Be of service, do some good work, and we got a chance to do some good stuff off of it. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's good. It's good information. So you've actually got this nice website called Freedom Venture, correct?
Yeah.
You tell us about that. You're essentially looking for investors on this, or what's the situation?
Sure. No, look, if you do this business rather than talk about it, there's a progression that happens. I don't know if it's by default. Some people stay in the single family, buy, fix, and flip business. Some people get a couple of rentals underneath them. Some people transition over to being lenders. What's happened in my career is again, because of the amount of people that I can reach out to, it's taken a trajectory today that I'm really excited about. Today, a single family home, buy, fix, and flip, $30, $40, $50, $60,000 payday. And I don't mean this to be flip. There's a play on words. I don't mean this to be flippant, but it doesn't get my heart rate up. I can do that with my eyes closed. I can manage my own portfolio of 20 to 50 units, long distance, cash flow, doesn't get my heart rate up. I'll tell you the story briefly that led to Freedom Venture Investments being where it is today. I was approached by a hard money lending company towards the end of last year. February, we started solidifying, and they said, "Hey, Dave, why don't you bring a hard money lending business, to the marketplace?" Hard money has never really been branded. It's always 1, 2, 3 capital and 4, 5, 7 capital, and I've got the best rates ever. And at the end of the day, everybody's got the same rates. It's about customer service. But anyway, we opened up a branch office, and we were about to launch. We had about 15 million in loans coming through the pipe, ready to come and fund our investors' deals. And what happened was COVID. And COVID shut down what's called the non-QM market. It's the non-owner occupied lending market space. And in 3 days, I was out of business. 3 days, gone. Business was over, kind of like your insurance, right? I had quite a large investment in building this business. We had 7, 8 loan origination offices on both sides of the state. And the business was over because there was no way of taking the notes that we created and selling them to Wall Street, because Wall Street wasn't buying them. So game over. So, you step back and you can either cry or you can reinvent. And what I figured out in that moment was kind of like a moment of clarity, and really not that much of a genius moment, but for me, it kind of was. And what it was he or she who controls the capital is going to win the game. I was allowing Wall Street really to control the capital, because the line of credit we lent from needed to be sold to Wall Street to be able to keep the line of credit going. So then if I want to control the capital, then how much capital do I want to control, and what can I do with the capital? That's the answer, right? That's the questions. God is good. Timing is good. A friend of mine in the Gulf Coast region reached out to me without knowing what I was going through in March. We'd had a couple of conversations, but I was on this journey, and he had been a private equity fund manager for about the past 15 years of his career. And what a private equity fund manager does is they raise capital. It's called a PPM, a private placement memorandum, for what are called accredited investors. I'm not going to educate you on accredited investors. Google it. You'll figure it out. But what he was able to do was during the course of his career, probably raise anywhere between 140, 150 million. What he did in the Gulf Coast region was raise that capital, deploy it, raise it, deploy it, raise it, deploy it, and turn that money over and over with his expertise in new construction as well as some multifamily. And what's happened is that three amigos have got together. My partner in the Gulf Coast, a young guy by the name of Eric, my younger partner, is 24 years old and has the skill set with a computer, the internet systems process software, which supports all of the automation and smoothness of operations. And then myself, my ability to reach out nationwide and show this opportunity. So what's happened is Freedom Venture Investments is now a management company. It has a management company within it. And what we do is we're managing a fund of $100 million. We anticipate that fund being fully funded around September 30th, raising 100 mil, and then also deploying that capital. It's okay to raise money. It doesn't mean anything if you can't put it out in the marketplace. And what we target is the Gulf Coast region of Florida, Tampa, up towards maybe up into Orlando, up in that area, down into St. Petersburg. All of that market there is an incredible market for growth. And what's happened is the perfect storm has arisen with COVID. And if you follow a lot of the data that's out there right now, inner city is going to diminish. People don't want that crowded environment anymore. And there's this mass exodus to these markets. The Carolina markets, the Florida markets, still parts of Texas are hot. And what it does is it creates an opportunity to get a higher rate of return with capital than what most other vehicles are showing in the marketplace. It really is an incredible time for us. We're driving a lot of investors to Freedom Venture Investments, which is our front door. Anybody interested in more information can go there and they can get that information. And then what we do is we pay returns to our investors. Our investors are paid a return up to a certain amount. So they always get paid first. And then the fund that shares in any profits after that. We haven't finalized our private placement memorandum because we're shooting for July 1, just waiting for all the legal documents to be finished. But, you know, it's another world, man. It's another incredible opportunity in real estate. And it's so exciting for me because I know what I can do for these investors who have just got brutalized in the stock market, right? And I mean that sincerely, brutalized. I mean, you know, we used to joke about 401ks being 201ks. Well, now they're 101ks, you know? So, you know, sticks and bricks has always been my wheelhouse. I don't care if it's a 200 unit apartment complex or whether it's a, you know, a little 1,500 square feet, 3-bed, 2-bath, bread and butter house in the neighborhoods where they sell fast, right? It's a hard asset, man. And a hard asset pays a hard return. So that's where we're at, man. That's the journey we're on. And with my partner's proven track record in the Florida Gulf Coast region, you know, we can just piggyback right on top of that. We just step into it, pour some gasoline on it, and get it going.
Tampa Bay is nice. I was actually just down in Tampa Bay doing an event. Speaking of, and I was on stage, and I actually had some people back in Ohio said, "Hey, I've got a property down there for sale. You know, I'm wanting to get rid of it." And I went and looked at, you know, and so I mean, there's a lot of opportunity there still.
Multifamily is really the focus for us. You know, I get people sending me deals that have retail in it. You know, I'm blessed that I wasn't in the retail space because, as we know, that's been decimated because of COVID. Retail is you know, some people look at it like an opportunity. They say take retail, convert it to residential, but that takes time. If I'm an investor and I'm putting in $100,000, $200,000 into a fund, I don't want to wait 1 year, 2 years for return. I want to get paid quarterly. You know. So multifamily gives a fund the ability to pay quarterly and consistently based off of the income that it makes. You know, it's an income. It's a business. A multifamily asset is a business all on its own. It has income. It has expenses. It has overhead. You know, it has the ability to develop and grow and be better. If it's badly managed, it's a huge opportunity for us as fund managers to come in and fix those challenges. So, I love this world, man. This gets my heart rate up,
Yeah.
10 units, 12 units, that's okay.
Yeah.
100. Oh, hey, now it's fun.
Now we're doing something. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm blessed, man. I got to say this out loud and then bless myself at the same time. But I'm in a position today where I've never lost a dime in real estate because I've always been very conservative. I've passed on 100 deals before I do one, and that's a message for anybody. If you try and squeeze a real estate trade, I know there's $1 in there somewhere. If that's how you're doing business, you could find yourself having some challenges.
I can't tell you how many deals I've had to walk away with. I mean, we were like within $500 of putting the deal together.
Yeah.
And I've got to stick to my numbers. Yeah. And if my numbers are, right there and it's over that, I walk. Like I'll get 100 deals until I get that one deal.
So, you know what, Gary? It's the same in the bigger playback, in the bigger sandbox. I mean, I'm playing at a larger sandbox now. Hundreds of millions of dollars worth of real estate, but the cash on cash returns have to meet our buying criteria. The loan value, the capitalization rates, the internal rate of return that we give to an investor over a 6-year hold. I mean, all of these numbers have to fit the model, because as soon as you deviate from a plan, you're a liar, right?
Yeah.
You're a liar, unless you see massive upside potential in there that somebody else hasn't seen. In my world today, it's all about hedging the downside and maximizing the upside. How do you protect the downside? Because it's still real estate. Stuff happens. How do you protect the downside for an investor, and how do you accelerate their upside? And, I remember teaching over the years, and I would show deals that had we were talking about that little deal in Gary, Indiana, right? But, if you said to somebody, I did a real estate transaction that had a 150% rate of return, they'd say you should go to jail right now, right?
Yeah.
But in real estate, we control it. We can create, these better returns than most other vehicles. And, with fund managers in the commercial real estate space, there is 100% transparency. So it's not like the stock market where you can, as a fund manager in the stock market, you can legally hide fees from your investors, which blows you away, right? As fund managers, it's a transparent world. So, everybody knows what everybody's doing. And that's always exciting, because now you're locking arms, you win together. That's the you see me, man. I get animated, right? I get excited.
Yeah.
I love it.
One of my specialties, Dave, is actually helping people raise money.
Yeah.
And so I've become very good at that. And I got one of my students right now, we're raising like $5 million for some apartment complexes and stuff. So it does that. I get more excited about that type of stuff than I do like the little, single families and nature. So, yeah. Yeah.
Look, as network is growing right now. Right. And again, I don't mean to be corny, but the network correlates to net worth. Right. Yeah. If everybody you're hanging around with is broke, there's a chance you're not going to make any money, right? So elevating the game. Part of some of the strategies that I've seen in the past is the ability to invest on what they call fund to fund basis. So one fund can actually invest in another fund if that other fund has a better track record or has a newer, shinier strategy going on. One of the things that we decided to do was to make our fund what's called a hybrid fund. So our primary focus, like I said, is the Gulf Coast multifamily, cash on cash returns that meet our buying criteria, et cetera. But we also have the ability to allocate some of that capital for our fund over to hard money lending, debt fund, right? Yeah. So now I can, I could allocate 10, 20 million to an established hard money lending company and say, okay, I'm now your warehouse line of credit.
Yeah.
Well, basically, I'm Wall Street now, right?
Yeah. That's amazing, isn't it?
Right? What would it be like, right, for an investor, instead of investing with Wall Street, now the investor is Wall Street? Yeah. Because that's kind of the philosophy behind that. Instead of Wall Street buying these notes out, well, our notes are all in-house. We get all of the margins together. It's called spread. If you pay X amount of percentage in return to the investor with the money, Well, then you lend it over here. There's a gap between the two. That's called the spread. That spread doesn't come in just one time. It comes in every single month.
Yeah.
So the money goes to work instead of the investor going to work, right? There's something about cash flow, right? Cash flow month after month. Cash flow through lending, cash flow through apartment houses. Opportunities rife.
Love it.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. So
cool.
Well, hey, we're getting close to the end of the show here. Let me. I could put your website up here, I believe, on the screen.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah, look at that. We're fancy over here.
Yo, man. Yo.
So obviously, I mean, you're looking for accredited investors yourself, and we don't sell stuff on the show, but I'm willing to promote you out there because you've got, I checked out your company and went to your website, and you're doing it the right way. You're not. I teach people how to raise money, man. You're doing it the right way. You got your PPM set up. You know the SEC rules and regulations, and you're doing it the right way. So
here's the thing. Here's the way I'd sum it up, and I know you agree because I can tell just by the way we're interacting with each other. Yeah. Raising capital isn't raising capital. Raising capital is building partnerships. That's what it is. It's a partnership. You rely on the capital infusion, one end of the partnership, and that relies on my skill sets to put that money to work. That's the other partnership. And I've turned away money in the past, brother. Money's everywhere. It really is. It really is.
Yeah.
If somebody calls and they say, "Hey, I got X amount of dollars, take my money." Well, let's make sure that your money is a good fit for me and I'm a good fit for you, first of all. Money is it's a commodity, right? So there are rules and regulations. Anybody who's watching the show here, if they do go to that site, just drop in some information somewhere and somebody will reach out to you if you want to know more about what we do and how we do it. But you're absolutely right, Gary. You got to do it by the numbers, man. It's serious when you're using other people's capital. Follow the rules. Yeah.
Follow the rules.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, check out freedomventures.com. And Dave, I appreciate it. Thanks again for being on the show. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
Take care, man.